Hello and welcome back to the Not Your Neurotypical Fitness podcast and an episode that I'm very damn excited for because it is not necessarily all things fitness, but it does all tie into health and well-being and being the best version of you. And I know from my own clients that a lot of the challenges they face do stem from the fact that they have ADHD, they live busy lives, and kids come into that. We're not blaming the kids, we're not here to do that, but they are a part of the puzzle. And I have the amazing Georgie,
Yes, yeah,
yes,
Jordan.
Georgie Stay, who is going to be chatting to us about all things motherhood and ADHD, which is not really spoken about enough. And what's actually really interesting is I was checking out my podcast comments earlier today as I was uploading a new one, and someone actually asked if there, I think it was a book they asked for about sort of like the links between sort of ADHD and being a mum. I was like, well, I don't have a book, but what I do have is an amazing guest coming very soon who can give us some incredible insights. So before we really get stuck into the value today, do you mind just giving a little bit of an introduction to yourself, what it is that you do, and I guess your journey with this whole ADHD thing? Were you late diagnosed? What's your journey? I'd love to hear all about it.
Yeah, so I was late diagnosed. My name's obviously Georgie. I started making content on my ADHD journey after I was actually diagnosed. I think I didn't see anything online about it being a mum and having ADHD personally. So I thought I'd share my journey because a lot of my friends relate to how I feel. I feel like us neurodivergent people attract other neurodivergent people as well. So I wanted to obviously share my journey a lot more online. But my experience is more kind of late diagnosed ADHD. So I became a mum, trying to remember now, in 2021. I am on maternity leave at the moment, so I do have a little bit of mum brain combined with ADHD as well.
Yeah.
So I forget things quite a lot, but I became a mum in 2021, and I think it kind of exposed my neurodivergent brain a lot more. So I knew I was neurodivergent from the age of 7. I'm diagnosed dyslexic at 7, but I didn't actually realize there was more to it when
Mm.
it comes to it. I always just thought it was dyslexia and dyspraxia and all of that. And then when you become a mum, you don't get the burnout time. So, you go to work during the day, you come home, and there's that time to just completely and utterly burn out and not have to speak to anybody, even don't have to speak to your partner if you have one. But when you become a mum, you come home from work and then you've still got a tiny little human that relies on you a lot more. So that's what kind of exposed me to maybe there's more to it than just this dyslexia. And then I learned about ADHD. I went through the Right to Choose process after being on the NHS wait list for, I'd say, 2 to 3 years. And then I found out about Right to Choose through TikTok, actually. So that's why I share my journey so much, because of how I've learned so much from there. So I thought, it's where we all find our information most of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went through the Right to Choose journey and then was diagnosed officially in 2024, was medicated quite quickly. I take Elvance. And then I then became a mum again, got pregnant and went through motherhood and pregnancy without knowing I had ADHD and being medicated. And it's nice to see the comparisons between the two as well.
And we'll come into
Yeah.
that and discuss that, like that, those comparisons and what you've done to sort of manage it. But what you said was quite interesting there was you were kind of exposed through obviously having that child, and then you said you've got to be so switched on. So prior to having your first child, you obviously knew you were dyslexic. Did you have
Mm.
any sort of other indications that you were different, any sort of misdiagnosis? Because obviously it's quite common, isn't it,
Yeah.
for you're just anxious or there's this and there's that. And, because back then I think I was 2022 when my diagnosis was, even back then there was a little bit of information, but not loads. But prior
Yeah.
to that, there was what we know about sort of ADHD in women specifically, just there was nothing, absolutely
Mm.
not. So I always had, and a lot of people describe this sense of being different and knowing something's not quite right, but there just wasn't any explanation. So it was just internalized. Well, maybe I am anxious, or maybe I'm just a bit weird. So, what was that experience like for you, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I had a very similar experience, to be honest with you. It was that I've always seen people have these groups of friends that have always stayed consistent throughout school. I mean, I don't speak to anybody that I was friends with at school.
Mm.
University, I've got one friend that I speak to very regularly. She's a very close friend of mine, but I don't have like a group of people that I kept from there. I always felt like a bit on the outskirts because I was never the type of friend that had a group of girls. I never went on like a girls' holiday or anything like that. And I'd come away from social situations thinking, why did I just spur out my whole life to that random person that I've never met before? And now they probably think, what on earth is that one wrong with that girl? So yeah, I always thought there was something more to it, but I always thought ADHD was what it was portrayed as, naughty boys at school who, acted out, not the three different types of ADHD that there is that I've come to learn about since I was diagnosed, and so much more. And there was a lot of misdiagnoses for me. And there was what, and I do get annoyed looking back at my journey. There was a lot of opportunities, I guess, for a diagnosis of ADHD. Because I once, throughout my university degree, I went to the doctor and said, something's not right, something doesn't feel right. It's not depression as you keep diagnosing me with, and it's not anxiety, but something doesn't feel right. And they actually referred me to somebody in the CAMS unit for an assessment for what was it, bipolar disorder. And I went there, and the assessor was like, I honestly don't know why the GP has sent you here because there's no signs of it whatsoever. So the fact that I was in front of somebody that might have been able to pick it up, but wasn't back then when I was 18, just
Yeah, I think we have a lot of
yeah.
stories like that. Like I went through the eating disorder team, and as part of that, they like test for other things, and
Mm.
that wasn't picked up. And I remember even like there was a lot of chat about like it's common in autism, and explain but it was so interesting when we look back. So you were sort of diagnosed quite similar to me, and back then was when there was the emergence of more talk about ADHD and how it can look quite different, and especially in women, and all this amazing stuff that started to emerge, which was fantastic. But it wasn't that readily available. I only found the information because I went looking for it, because someone
Mm.
gave me the idea. Have you ever considered that this experience you're having is ADHD? And then I found the things. Whereas now I feel it's a lot more, I won't say
Yeah,
in your face, which is kind of the wrong word, but I guess it is, but for the right reasons.
it's a little bit more readily available, I
Easily
guess.
available, yeah,
Yeah.
and more discussed. And I think more people are now much more aware of the traits, and which is fantastic. So where did it come from for you? Because for me, it was someone who was very close to me with something that I was struggling with, like, well, could actually be this. And then that's where
Mm.
I did the research. So where did the idea come from for you that this experience could actually be ADHD?
So, I have my sister has a little boy before I did. He's 7 now.
Mhm.
Hopefully, she doesn't listen to this and think, "Oh my God, he's not 7."
Yeah.
He's 7 now, and he's actually been diagnosed with autism, and he was showing autistic traits quite
Okay.
early on.
Yeah.
He is high level autistic as well, non-verbal. So when that happened, a lot of us in the family started looking at things, and we knew that there was a lot of the time it can be inherited, and we think he's ADHD as well. That he shows not just autism, it's ADHD. So for that, I started to look into it, and then if it wasn't for a few creators online, I probably wouldn't have explored it even more. So when I did look into it, I do think a lot of experiences, especially for women, come from lived experiences, and because there's not enough research on ADHD within women out there. So I do think it's a lot of lived experiences and people sharing their stories online. So that's where it came for me, was, like a family member having a neurodivergency, because I didn't actually know that not ADHD, dyslexia and dyspraxia are on the neurodivergent
Yeah, it's not
umbrella.
spoken about much.
So, yeah, and I've always been very open that I'm dyslexic and dyspraxic is not something that I've kept from people. So when I found that out, I was like, maybe even more to it as well. So yeah, it was coming from a lot of lived experiences, to be
Amazing.
honest.
Okay. And you mentioned that, yeah, you've had all these feelings and that something was different, but having the first child was like it exposed things for you. A
Mm,
lot of the challenges really started to show themselves. And that is something that I've heard from a few different people that I've had as guests and conversations, because it isn't something I've had any personal experience with,
mm.
but a lot of conversations have been had about it. So what was that for you? One, for maybe other people listening to out of curiosity, but just for that validation for some people that might have gone, God, it felt like pregnant, because motherhood and pregnancy is it's a whole new adventure and chapter
Yes.
that we don't
Yeah.
have a manual for. And I think some people might, a bit like the same way we thought, oh, maybe we are just depressed and anxious. Some people might think, well, I'm not really coping, but that's just because
Yeah.
this is hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe there's some internalization of what's wrong with me? Everyone else seems to just crack on with this kid, and I'm struggling. So what happened for you? What were these experiences just out of interest?
So it started kind of in pregnancy, I guess, because a lot of people had complicated pregnancies, or something that they didn't go right for them. My
Mm.
pregnancy wasn't an awful pregnancy. Um, and then I speak to other mothers and they're like, oh, I loved being pregnant. It was the best thing ever. And I just thought, is that true? Because I
Mm.
hated it. I didn't, the only complication I had was that my child was breech. So it's not like there was any other health complications with it. And pregnancy for somebody who is ADHD or autistic is sensory overload
Oh
because
gosh, I
you're
can imagine. Yeah.
constantly being poked and prodded internally. Your hormones are against you. They really attack you as well. So for me, that it really did start then when I was speaking to other mums, and I don't know if you're like this, but I kind of get verbal diarrhea and I'm very too much honest sometimes. And I'd be in a group discussion with other mothers and they'd be like, oh, I love it. How are you finding it? And I'd just be like, I hate it.
Yeah.
And they'd just be like, oh, right, okay. And I'm like, am I supposed to sit here and say it's the most magical thing in the world, or am I supposed to say something else? But I don't know why everybody lies about it. I love being a mum. I just did not enjoy pregnancy. It is a lot. So that's where it started for me. And then the newborn stage, a lot of people say they love it and they love that little baby stage. But for me, I couldn't understand why I couldn't enjoy it. So when I had my firstborn, I've been very open about this as well, is I felt like I took somebody else's baby home. I looked after my nephew quite a lot before then. I felt like I was just looking after my nephew and I could have handed him back to my sister or taken him back to the hospital and said, oh, that was a really lovely time. Thank you very much for letting me look after your child. And then kind of got on with my rest of my life. It took me 3 months to have that rush of what everybody calls this like intense motherly love. And I felt not normal when I was speaking to people about it. A lot of people were like, "Oh no, I did feel that," and then I was open with a few other friends, and they said that they felt the same way, and they were scared to talk about it as well because you're expected to just be like, "Oh my God, I love this child so much," and I kind of felt difficult, found it really difficult because for me, I didn't get anything back. It sounds horrible, but I was getting no sleep. I was, drained of my mental capacity and everything. I didn't get my time to myself anymore. And I think that's where it really exposed it was the newborn stage. When he started smiling and really connecting with me a lot more, that's when I really started to have that connection and enjoy it. But I still couldn't understand why some other people got it and people like me didn't. And when I've spoken to other neurodivergent mothers now, they've had that same kind of experience as well. Um, but yeah, the first stages of it was really where I started to question things for me as well.
Mm.
But yeah, that's where it's exposed.
That's interesting. And so, just out of sort of interest, I mean, I don't know if there isn't an answer because we don't have research that says X plus Y equals Z, but what do you think is the connection between being ADHD and having those feelings? Because I can imagine if you had communicated those feelings, and if you did, the label would be postpartum depression, where it's quite common. Oh, if you don't feel connected to your baby, or you feel tired, or you feel sad, and all these things, then it is just postpartum depression. And I guess maybe that was maybe a thought process. But now, sort of knowing what you know about ADHD and the experience, what do you think or hypothesize is the link between the ADHD brain and feeling that way?
Yeah. I Now I've gone through it again and I've had my second son. I feel like it's because you've never experienced it before.
Mm.
Because when I've done other things, I've always overthought everything. When I'm like something new, I've overthought everything, or I've kind of not enjoyed it, and then I've done it again and I've enjoyed it the second time round.
Yeah.
And I do think it is, when it's a new experience, something new that you've never experienced before, it can be really hard to form that kind of love connection for it. And that goes for everything for me personally as well. So I do think it could be that personally, because my second son, I had that straight away, and I feel guilty for that as well. I have that guilt as well. The fact that I had it straight away. I didn't enjoy the newborn stage still, but I had that kind of, oh my God, this is what, I was supposed to feel when Jude was born. So, I think personally it is the fact that I hadn't experienced it before, and now I have, so I know what it's like.
Absolutely, that certainty and that predictability.
Yeah, because I know what's coming, because we always like to know what's coming as ADHDers.
We
So,
do. We do. I need to know exactly what, when.
yeah.
But I get, if I don't know the parking situation of somewhere I'm going, I
Oh,
might not
God.
go. Like
Yeah.
that's the level of
I'm on
certainty.
Google Maps looking at Street View, trying to figure out
Literally,
where everything
literally, it's like,
is.
why is it not on your website? Like it should be.
Yeah.
Like I was really stressing about, like, I went to this to 10K not so long ago, and they did, the parking information was so vague on the website, and I was just like, I'm gonna have to get there like 2 hours early because if I can't park, I can't do it. And like, yeah, I feel you. So I can imagine the challenges did not stop at the newborn stage
No.
in terms of the relation with ADHD and motherhood. So obviously everyone's experiences, and I'm sure with the work you've done speaking online, you've had so many experiences and struggles and
Mm,
challenges. But what else sort of came up for you in terms of either exposing the ADHD or knowing what you now know about ADHD were
mm.
specific challenges related to being a mom
Yeah, I
and
mean,
ADHD?
I I don't it's more I found irritability really hard as
Mm,
well. Um, and I was quite shameful about it, about how irritated I'd get. And it wasn't just about my kid crying. It was also if he was making too much noise in general, just
it's that
babbling.
sensory overwhelm, isn't it?
Yeah, it was I when he started to babble and laugh and do all of those things, or even just whining because he might be hungry or something like that. It was, I found, the sensory overload from that really hard. And there was a few times where I might have like shouted, not at him, but like walked away and just shouted. I don't know if any of you've ever felt like that, but I have, shouted before, and the annoyance from that when he was a baby definitely did get to me. I do find it a lot easier this time around, and that is partly because of my medication that I'm on, and I know what my brain works like. But the first time round, it was very much like,
Mhm.
what is going on here? Why am I feeling so overstimulated by my child? And the constant need from me as well.
Mm.
There was never a time that you could switch off. Like, yes, I have a very, very supportive partner, and I'm very lucky in that. And as much as 50-50 when he's here, it is never 50-50 in regards to like the care, because mothers are always depended on a hell of a lot more than the dads, unfortunately, for the dads, because a lot of them want to be a lot more involved. But if anything goes wrong with the school, I'm the first point of call, even if I am, we both work full time when I'm not on maternity leave. So there's still more needed from me. So it was the change in the fact that I didn't have that downtime to myself anymore, and
Mm.
the lack of routines as well that I had to change. And when he started to wean, I had to think of 3 meals a day, not only for myself and my partner, but for somebody else now. And it's just, there's a lot of stress that come with that. Like all those little things that people don't actually realize can be quite overwhelming for somebody who is ADHD as well. So
Mm.
yeah, so little things like that just kind of got to me, and I was just sitting there thinking, why is it so hard? Everyone says, "Oh, you're made to be a mum," and I'm like, if you saw me at home unmasked completely, I don't feel like you would feel like that.
Mm.
It felt like I was wearing a mask a lot more, and I was burning out a lot more,
Yeah, that's what I was
definitely.
going to say. Did it come with that sensation of burnout because you were just so constantly on and
Yeah,
switched on and not understanding why? And guilt and shame and those sort of frustration feelings are so draining as well. Like when you didn't have those pieces of the puzzle to put them together, I bet there was a lot of that of like you said, like I should be feeling this way and I shouldn't be
mm,
finding this so hard. And everyone thinks I've got it together. And I bet that was mentally really tough as well to work through.
yeah, definitely. It was really quite hard, because if I wanted to speak up about how I felt, because I didn't feel like it was postnatal depression. I've seen postnatal depression. I've researched into it heavily, because when I was feeling those things, I was like, why do I feel like that? And it, for me, I didn't want to say something to the doctor, because then they'd be like, I was postnatal depression, because I do feel like they give that out quite a lot to mums.
It's an easy one, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of the time it might not be that. It might be that she needs, more support in this part of her life, or she might need the diagnosis of ADHD to get her support as well. So, I did feel a lot of shame and from it, because I didn't want to verbalize it as much. So yeah, definitely did burn out quite a lot more. And I think it caused a few arguments in the first year between me and my partner as well, because the time that we had to ourselves together, was where I would burn out and just zone out and not want to speak to anybody as well. So that did cause quite a lot of arguments in the first year, I think, as well.
Sure. And like when you're alone on that journey, like it can cause problems, and it's,
Mm.
what is the answer? So you said that obviously now things, you've had your second child, which is amazing, and things have felt very different. And obviously, yes, we have got medication in the mix, which is going
Mm.
to be helping with maybe some of the executive functioning and the irritability and impulsivity side of things, which is fantastic. But is there anything else that now that you understand I have ADHD, and obviously when you get diagnosed, you go on a lot of self-discovery, a lot of research of like finding, oh, that's why I do
Mhm.
that, and that can help. Has anything else been beneficial besides from the medication? And I think there's a lot to be said for just knowing what, like when you know why you feel a way that you do, there is so much that comes with it. I
Yeah.
think when you don't understand why something's happening, it charges that emotion so much more, right? But has
Yeah.
anything else been helpful that you've done yourself to make this time better for yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I think because I have that diagnosis, I don't force myself into situations that I know that are either going to overwhelm me or overstimulate me or burn me out. So if I've had a day with the kids and then say family members say, oh, let's all do something together in the evening, I would used to be like, yes, okay, let's go, let's do that. And try and sort that out. Sorry, the dog is going crazy in the
Don't
background.
worry,
He's
I've
spotted
got
someone out
one.
the window. I would, still say yes, and then that would make things a lot worse.
Mm,
Whereas now, I know that if I've done something in the day and something comes up in the evening, and I know that's going to cause me a lot of overwhelm and a lot of burnout. And maybe the next day it could cause me to be more irritable with the kids. I do say no. I'm a lot more confident in saying no. I was very much a people pleaser before my diagnosis. I wanted to make sure that everybody was happy and I put myself last. Whereas now, I still might put myself last at certain things, but I put myself first for my kids a lot more now because I don't say yes to absolutely everything because I know that the next day I might not be the right type of mum that I need to be to make sure that my kids are like looked after as well, if that makes sense. So I don't want to snap at them all day. Um, because I've been out all day and the next day and said yes to absolutely everything under the sun. I also remove myself from situations a lot more. So if like my 5-month-old might be crying and I know that is going to get me really quite overstimulated and overwhelmed, I do put him down and I walk away for 5 minutes and regulate myself. I've learned how to regulate myself a lot easier rather than stand there rocking him and rocking him and rocking him, trying to help him get to sleep and then getting upset and having a meltdown because of the fact I can't calm him down because a lot of the time I know that they pick up on your energy.
mm,
So that is something that I have been able to do as well. And I ask for help a lot more from my partner because before I was like, no, I can do it all, I can manage it all, I'm all fine, and just put it all internal. Whereas now I say, no, I need help. I need to just go away for 10 minutes because ADHDers regulate their nervous system by being alone. It's not sleep.
mm,
So I need to be alone. So I'll say, look, I just need some time alone. Can you just keep the kids away? And being more verbal with how I feel. And that does help a lot as well, definitely.
mm. I think the saying no to things is a big one because just protecting your energy, like energy is so finite, and the things that you might have been able to do before and say yes to, you, that energy is now gone into the child. And I've had this conversation with a few of my clients, like, we need to say no. Like, as
Mm,
much as it's nice to go out with your friends, but if you're getting to the weekend and you're burnt, you can't be then going into another week burnt out. So I think knowing these things and being able to put them in play is brilliant. And I do think you don't need a diagnosis to validate yourself to do that. But I think really just knowing that's what I need
yeah.
and being so confident and bold to go, I know I need that because that helps me with this, is so powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the diagnosis definitely did help me because you get a lot of imposter syndrome, you get a lot of RSD. So if you turn around and say, no, I need help with this, or no, I need time to be on my own, and someone says, really, why do you need that?
You're like,
And you're like, I just need it because that's what I need. But when you get the diagnosis, you're like, no, if I don't do this, this is what the outcome's going to be. So it definitely does help.
amazing. So you decided to create this social media account
Mhm.
to just literally explain things more and make people feel less alone. Because I'm guessing from what you've said from our chat so far, you obviously had this diagnosis and it made things make sense, but then you were like, but no one's really talking about this, but this is a thing. And
Yeah.
what kind of was it just kind of like a ADHD impulsive thought, which they're not always bad, you know, for things like this, they can be
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. What kind of inspired you to just start posting? Because as much as we want to help people, and I know at first when you get the diagnosis, you almost have this kind of like, I can do something and I can help other people, but it's a lot to be so vulnerable about what
Mm.
you're experiencing, especially something like this where there is so much stigma around how you should feel as a mum. So what kind of
Yeah.
inspired you to do it, and how quickly did you get online after sort of the diagnosis?
So I remember sending a text message to my cousin and we were talking about it because um unfortunately my nan passed away
Mm.
and the year that I was diagnosed, and we all got together and we all realized that we were a very neurodivergent family. And my cousin was asking me about my like experience through the right to choose process and what happened and everything, and he was becoming a parent himself. Um, and then I just sent him a text message one day and said, I think I really should share my journey about the right to choose process online and what happened and since then. And then I shared a video on that, and then I just kept on sharing. And then I think where I tied in that I was a mum, it kind of progressed into how I was as a mum. And a lot of my friends have said to me, you know, the things that you do at home, you really should share online, and the hacks that you've kind of way that you've hacked your home for ADHD as well. Um, you should share online as well. So I think that's where it progressed for me. But I was diagnosed in September 2024, and I didn't really start probably can't get the words out, properly sharing my journey and experiences as an ADHD mum until I say April is where I got more confident in my experiences. I had one video where there was a trend where I talked about, you know, someone faced away from the camera and you pretended that someone was saying something, and it was about how, you know, you're not tired, you're burnt out, you're this, you're that. And a lot of people related to it. And then it just kind of took off. I had shared a Right to Choose journeys videos on it a little bit, but they didn't hit as well. So when I started sharing more about motherhood, I think that really did hit home for a lot of people.
Yeah, and then when you start to get that feedback that this is really helping people, it then obviously motivates you to
Mm,
keep going, because one of the negatives of being ADHD is we are very emotive when we care, but that is also one of the most amazing positives, that when we have these opportunities where other people might just go, oh, went viral, yay, we're like, oh, this is helping people, great, let's
yeah,
do more of it. Like that's where my sort of niche came in, is I was just sharing my own journey in relationship with food with ADHD, and all the content was just going crazy. Every
yeah,
single time I was like, maybe there's something I need to do with this rather than just be a weight loss coach. Maybe I need to, and then I did, and it was obviously the more feedback we get, it's
yeah,
fantastic. So
exactly.
since obviously starting to share more and share these things, it's been absolutely amazing, and then you've had like lots of positive feedback, and we'll talk about sort of where you're taking that in a second. But before we move into that project, which I'm really excited to talk about, you mentioned sort of like hacks for the home for like being an ADHD mum and stuff, and I'm really curious to hear. Maybe just, I know people can go and all the reasons. We'll keep a bit of curiosity there because it gives people a reason to go and hit follow, which we want people to
Yeah,
do. But I'd be interested to hear a few myself, not obviously from my perspective, being I'm a dog mum, but it's not quite the
yeah.
same as
Oh, I
children.
always say that being a dog mum prepares you for being a real mum. Like,
Well,
I think
I'll
that's
definitely.
every
It was
mum.
quite interesting when you were sort of saying about like the overstimulated and stuff. Like I remember having some of those feelings with her being a puppy, and I was like, oh,
Oh,
I
yeah,
love the puppy stage, and I was like, my routine's changed.
yeah,
Sometimes it's so overstimulating when I just want some peace and she's running around tearing things up. She's not very barky, to be fair to her. She's pretty good, but I remember even some of the things, like the first time I had her in my car and she was panting really loud, and I was like, that's a
oh,
lot.
yeah,
And just little things like that I was like, but why is no one else bothered by this? And why is this puppy stage that's meant to be amazing? Why am I so stressed? So I've
mm.
definitely had some cross parallels there, which I've only just drawn the connections with now, which is really cool. But yeah, home hacks, let's hear some, because
Yeah.
I'm just nosy and curious, and I'm sure the listeners
Um,
are as well.
So I think a lot of it came from I work from home full time when I'm not on maternity leave, and my son's here in the school holidays when I work from home.
Yeah.
ADHD, I like to overload myself. So a lot of it came from making my life a little bit easier and less overstimulated in the school holidays. One thing that a lot of people do like is that I have something called a snack trolley, that is out and readily available all the time.
Mhm.
I shared that online and it did get a little bit of backlash because
Of
somebody,
course,
people
yes.
obviously accused you of maybe teaching your child to just eat as much as they want, but really
Can't
it's
do
taught
anything these
him.
days without someone telling you
Oh
you're doing
yeah,
something
it's
wrong.
just I do think if anything's got the connotation of ADHD, autism, or neurodivergency, there's always going to be somebody that has their opinion on it anyway.
Oh, 100%, without a doubt.
Yeah, but with the snack trolley, it's just healthy snacks and some, sugary snacks on there that he can just help himself with, rather than come up to me all the time and ask me for a snack and be hungry all the time. So little things like that I shared online, and actually that snack trolley has not been stocked up for the last 2 weeks because he hasn't, people accused me that he was going to eat the whole thing. He doesn't. It's taught him, eat when you're hungry. There's snacks there
That's
you can help
amazing,
yourself
actually.
to. So little things like that.
Can I
Um,
just expand on that one, just from my
yeah,
perspective? I think that's actually a really good hack because a lot of kids and a lot of us, it's like these foods are a reward and this, that, and the other. And we're not really, as children, because we eat at the times that our parents cook for us, understandably, we don't really become curious about our hunger signals and are we actually hungry? It's just routine. So I think something like that, where it's like, it's actually, you can have it whenever you want it, removes that
mm,
urgency and that scarcity. And that feeds a lot of, no pun intended, negative relationships with food in adults because
yeah,
things are scarce. And one of the things that I do with a lot of people who come to me with a lot of food rules is we actually, we create this idea that you can have things whenever you want them. And people
yeah,
don't, they're like, what? But I'm just going to binge on it. And actually, what you find is when you give yourself full permission, you want it less. And hence why the draw, it's still full because he's realizing. Whereas if you were like, you can only have that here, and then
yeah.
you open that window, then it's like, but this is my only opportunity. So actually, you're doing some really good work there. So
Yeah,
I
I
love
do
that.
think that's what it's created, definitely, because there's sometimes he'll just like, I'm hungry, and I'm like, well, if you're hungry, there's food there. And he'll be like, oh no, I'm okay. It's not like I think he just says that he's hungry when he's bored sometimes, definitely.
I
So
mean, adults, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
and the difference when you're an adult is you don't ask, you just do that.
help
So getting
yourself.
him
Yeah.
curious and what he's actually feeling at that age is fantastic. That's
Yeah,
great.
and we definitely don't restrict foods in the house. Like I eat a lot of sugar. I've got ADHD. Chase dopamine in sugary
Mhm.
foods. So, before I got my medication, I was a lot bigger than I was because I got obsessed with the gym after getting diagnosed and everything and got quite healthy. And then I thought if I'm going to eat sugar in front of him, I'm not going to restrict it from him as well. So, he has it in his diet as well. So that definitely has helped a lot with that kind of things. And we've also got like a visual calendar. We haven't got the dream digital one that I really want, but it is just a whiteboard one on the fridge, and I just write in the days of the month each month, and then anything planned on there. So having it in front of my face, if there's any school events that we've got going on, any food that we've like ran out of, we just write it on these whiteboards all over the fridge, and then it's there in front of our face. And we've got a shared like iCloud calendar that we use. And if I always say to my partner, if it's not in there, it's not happening.
Yeah,
So if
yeah,
if you say, oh sorry, I've booked to go golf, sorry, it's not happening. So we have
100%.
things like that. Everything goes into that calendar as well. So little things like that has really helped
Yeah,
around the home.
calendars are huge. Mine's obviously not the same because it's not as family, but for any sort of event, I'm like, if you want to see me for something, it's got to go in there or it
Yeah.
just doesn't happen. And I think people are so, the word planning creates this like sense of like restriction and resistance. But I say like, is that whole quote, preparing to fail, it's setting you up for success. Like that's how I look at it. Is I
Yeah.
don't see it as me planning my week, it's me setting myself up for success. And
Yeah.
if we want to balance all these things, we can't do it up here. It's just not
Mm,
possible. So we
definitely.
won't give away all the hacks and strategies because there is somewhere people might be able to go very it depends
Yeah.
on the time of releasing this podcast, whether it's
Yeah.
it will be available in the very near future or it
Mhm.
is available. Either way, if it's available, I will put the links. If not, people
Yeah.
can obviously go
Yeah.
check out the socials and wait for the release date. So you are releasing something very exciting,
Yeah.
very accessible for women who maybe have listened to this, who are
Mhm.
thinking, oh my God, I relate to so much of this, but I feel so alone on this journey. But there won't be any more, will they? Because what is coming their way? What are we working on? It's such a cool and amazing idea, by the way. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so another creator friend of mine, so we actually met from sharing our stories online quite recently, and we are basically each other's counterpart. Everything we say is just, we always just say same brain. And her name's Blanca. She suggested that there wasn't enough support out there. She actually she shared her journey, so I won't go too much into it, but she went through the whole diagnosis of postpartum depression as well. She
Yeah.
was already diagnosed before she got pregnant. But she went through all of that. And they referred her to like a mum support group that she did go to, and it was helpful, but she didn't feel like it was
Well, she,
suitable for a neurodivergent brain. You know, a lot of us are oversharers. We might share too much, and people will look at you and be like, "Oh gosh, why are you sharing it like that or saying that?" And we have found, you know, a lot of groups, say baby groups that you go to, are all singing, dancing, baby groups, like talking in a circle. I don't want to go to things like that either. So we thought we'd create a online community for mums who are neurodivergent. They don't have to be diagnosed. They can suspect that they are ADHD or autistic or some sort of neurodivergency as well. Or they can even be exploring motherhood or going through a pregnancy themselves, because I went through pregnancy the second time around medicated, and there's not enough information online about that. So I want a place where if anybody has questions, I can share it as well. So we're creating, it's just a free to join WhatsApp group at the moment. We have got like a wait list. So we have got like a document put up so people can add their details. So once it officially launches, and once we've fine-tuned everything to make sure everyone's details are safe, it's going to have lots of different groups that you can join inside it. Um, Rant groups. We're going to have, you know, late night chats to keep other mums who might be up late at night doing the night feeds, who need a little bit of support or having a bit of a meltdown, needing that support there as well. Because
amazing.
I have found sharing my experience with another neurodivergent mum, and the same for Blanca, has helped massively, because we voice note, podcast level voice notes to each other on a daily basis. And a lot of the time we both help regulate each other. And I think that's what a lot of other neurodivergent mums are struggling with, is not having somebody there. So you might meet like-minded mums in your area. And we've actually got a lot of mums from the UK, from other countries. It's not just UK based. And then we are hoping to eventually, at the moment, we're trying to fine tune things, but help send out some guides, like provide some guides to mums with certain things that we don't see information online ourselves, that we know that other mums would benefit from.
That's amazing.
So that will eventually happen. But it's called the Neuro Mum Village, is what we've called
I
it,
love it.
because everybody talks about having a village, which some parents don't get to have when they become mums. They don't have that village what everyone talks about. So
I
we
love
want
it.
to be able to provide people with that as well.
I love it. And I already know a few of my clients and connections who would find that so valuable. And I think there is so much to be said of just being in a room, even if you're not even if you don't contribute. I think even just knowing that you have got a space where you, everything that you're feeling and everything that you're thinking, there's someone else thinking and feeling
Yeah.
that and on the wavelength. Just knowing that that's there, one button away, for so many people will provide so much comfort. And obviously, the
Mm.
tips and advice will be amazing. So, yeah, I love it. I'll share all the details of that depending on where it is when this
Yeah.
is released, either the waitlist or the link to join, or however
Yeah.
you do it. But just as well to wrap up, then, where can people find you on social? I'll link all this as well, but where
Yeah.
can people find you? What social channels are we on?
So I'm on TikTok and Instagram. I have changed my username on TikTok now, so it matches my Instagram username. So it's Georgie Rose ADHD. And or if you just type in Georgie Rose ADHD Mum Life, that also will come up on TikTok. But yeah, so it's TikTok and Instagram mostly that I share on. Really, I might be joining Facebook at some point, but not right now.
Uh,
Too
be
many
prepared.
channels.
Yeah, be prepared. Facebook is where you get the hate. Like I've had a
Yes,
post go viral.
that's what I've been avoiding.
They're a different breed on Facebook. I've had a
Yeah.
post go viral about like diagnosis on Facebook, and good Lord, I mean, it creates great content and great engagement. So
Oh
I
yeah.
don't, but I just read some of the comments. It's like, wow, people are so angry about it. Like it blows. I think this is the thing that blows my mind. Like, why do people get so angry about it? Like, it doesn't affect you at all, but
Oh yeah.
it's like you said, when you mention ADHD, like vultures come in, but
I
I'm
get a lot on TikTok, to be honest with
oh
you.
yeah.
I've kind of moved a lot more to Instagram because I think people are a lot nicer
I
on
definitely think it
Instagram.
goes like Instagram are like you still get a few wild people on there, but they're
Yes.
generally nicer. Then TikTok, and then Facebook, you're literally putting yourself in the, like, you need to have a
Yeah.
bit of thick skin, otherwise you are, it's, but I love it. I'm just like, it creates me engagement. It gets more people finding me and I can then help them.
Yeah.
So I see them actually as helping me and they don't realize they are, but it's great.
Yeah. I always point out saying thanks for the engagement and then they stop replying.
Yeah.
They realize
Yeah.
they're pushing it out. But yeah, I do find that it does come with that. That's why I've avoided Facebook a little bit. But
Oh, honestly, you'll love it.
yeah.
Favorite comment I got on Facebook the other day was someone was like, "You're just posting this for clicks and engagement." I went, that is what being a successful business owner is, correct? Like
Yeah.
that's the whole point of posting on social media.
Yeah, that is the whole point of this. Thank you very much. So
It's like, sorry, next time I'll make sure that I do a post that nobody will ever engage with and no one will ever
yeah.
see. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time in this conversation. This was everything I hoped it would be and more. So much value, so much insight. And I'm sure for anyone who is going through the experiences that you've described, it has been very validating as well, which is
Mm.
what this channel is all about, as well as validating people's
Yeah.
experiences.
Uh,
So a big thank you. And to everyone else who is a listener, I will see you on the next episode.